Welcome back. Lincoln currency. In the world of coins, every year tells a different story, and the 1988 1-cent coin is no exception. Imagine holding in your hand not just a simple penny, but a tiny piece of American history, a symbol of change, value, and hidden fortune. At first glance, the 1988 1-cent coin may look ordinary, just another copper-plated zinc piece that millions of people have used for decades. But when you dive deep into its background, design, production details, and collector's market, you start to realize how something so small can carry unimaginable worth. Today, we are exploring the 1988 penny, a coin that in some rare cases has been valued at an astonishing $204 million in the collector's market. Yes, you heard that right, $204 million for a coin that was once worth only a single cent. And the story behind this transformation is fascinating, filled with historical context, minting details, weight, composition, and the allure of rarity. When we talk about the 1988 penny, the very first thing that comes to mind is its design, which is the classic Lincoln cent design. The obverse side, also called the front side, features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait had already been in use since 1909, the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it remains one of the most iconic and enduring coin designs in American history. The word Liberty stands boldly on the left side of Lincoln's profile, while the year 1988 is placed clearly on the right side. Above Lincoln's head, the timeless national motto, "In God We Trust," is inscribed, reminding every citizen of the ideals that bind the nation together. This arrangement may look simple, but it carries symbolic weight, linking freedom, trust, and leadership together in the smallest denomination coin of the United States. Turn the coin over to the reverse side and you will find the majestic image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design, introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, was created by Frank Gasparo. What makes this design particularly special is that if you look closely at the base of the memorial, you can actually see a tiny representation of the seated Lincoln statue, the same statue people admire when they visit the real memorial. It is one of the few U.S. coins where a person appears on both sides of the coin, Lincoln's face on the obverse and his seated figure within the memorial on the reverse. Above the memorial, the words United States of America arc proudly, and beneath it lies the denomination, 1 cent, ensuring that everyone knows its value, while the national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, is placed just above the memorial structure, emphasizing unity in diversity. Now let's talk about the physical details of the 1988 penny. By this year, the U.S. Mint was producing pennies not from solid copper as it had for over a century, but from a core of zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. This change had started in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper, which made it more expensive to produce a penny than the coin was actually worth. The 1988 penny therefore has a composition of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating. Its weight is about 2.5 grams, its diameter is 19 millimeters, and its thickness is around 1.55 millimeters. Even though these measurements may sound ordinary, they are essential for collectors to confirm the authenticity of the coin. Any deviation from these weights or measurements can sometimes signal a mint error, and error coins often sell for enormous sums of money in the collector's market. Speaking of mint marks, the 1988 penny was struck at different locations of the United States Mint, primarily in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins usually have no mint mark, Denver coins carry a small D mint mark beneath the date, and San Francisco coins, especially proof coins, carry an S mark. Each mint mark gives the coin its own story and its own potential value in the collector's world. For example, a pristine proof coin from San Francisco can fetch a much higher price than a circulated coin from Philadelphia, and a coin with a rare minting error from Denver can sometimes skyrocket into millions of dollars in value. The mint mark is tiny, but for collectors it is like a secret code that reveals a coin's birthplace and, sometimes, its destiny. But what makes the 1988 penny so fascinating is not just its design, composition, or mint mark, but the unexpected rarity that hides within certain examples. While billions of these coins were minted, the fact remains that in numismatics, rarity does not always come from how many were made, but rather from how many survived in pristine condition, how many carry unusual minting errors, and how many tell a story beyond their everyday use. Over time, most pennies end up scratched, worn down, or damaged in circulation, but the few that remain untouched, perfectly struck, and preserved in mint state can command unbelievable values. Some error coins, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or transitional composition mistakes, are especially prized. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums, and that is how we arrive at jaw-dropping figures like $204 million for a single 1988 penny. Because when two passionate collectors compete for something truly unique, the sky is the limit. Imagine the journey of one of these rare 1988 pennies. It might have been struck at the mint, slipped into circulation, passed through countless hands buying candy, newspapers, or small goods, yet somehow managed to escape damage. Perhaps it ended up in a jar, hidden away for years, or landed in a collector's batch where its pristine luster was recognized. Decades later, when coin grading services such as PCGS or NGC examine such a coin and certify it as a top-grade specimen, suddenly that 1 cent becomes a treasure. The grading scale, which runs from poor condition at 1 to a perfect mint state 70, makes all the difference. A 1988 penny in MS65 or higher is rare, but imagine a flawless MS70 coin with not a single imperfection. That coin would be almost impossible to find, and if one appeared at auction, the bidding war could push its value to astronomical levels. The market fascination with the 1988 penny also ties into its place in the broader history of U.S. coinage. The 1980s were a transitional decade for the cent. The shift from copper to zinc had just occurred, and collectors were still adjusting to this major change. Some people hoarded older copper pennies, while others overlooked the newer zinc coins, thinking they would never have significant value. But history has proven that even zinc pennies can become treasures, especially when tied to errors, low mintages in certain conditions, or collector demand. The 1988 penny captures this story of transition, representing a new era of cheaper production but also holding secrets that make it valuable beyond imagination. As time passes, the mystique of the 1988 penny only grows. Stories circulate of coins being sold for life-changing sums, news headlines capture the public's imagination, and suddenly people everywhere are checking their pocket change, hoping to find one of these hidden treasures. It becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a dream, a symbol of luck, and a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things can turn out to be extraordinary. And when we say that a single 1988 penny has reached a value of $204 million, it may sound unbelievable, but in the world of rare collectibles, the unbelievable often becomes reality, driven by passion, rarity, and the human desire to own something truly unique. When people hear about the 1988 penny being worth hundreds of millions of dollars, their first reaction is often disbelief, but that disbelief quickly turns into curiosity. How can a coin that was produced by the billions, used by children to buy gum or by adults to make exact change at the grocery store, suddenly be transformed into a piece of treasure worth more than most people could ever imagine? The answer lies in the power of rarity, history, condition, and above all, human fascination with collecting. Every collector knows that value does not come from the face value printed on the coin, but from the story that coin carries, the condition in which it has survived, and the intense desire of others to own it. The 1988 penny, though common in circulation, has a rare subset of examples that embody all these factors, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Think about the weight of this coin again, 2.5 grams. It seems so light that you could barely feel it in your palm, yet in certain cases, that same weight has the power to outweigh gold and diamonds in value. The dimensions are fixed, the copper plating is thin, and the zinc core is not glamorous, yet these humble ingredients create one of the most iconic coins of American life. When collectors hold one in their hand, they aren't just holding metal, they're holding history. History of a mint adapting to new costs, of a nation that uses symbols like Lincoln to inspire unity, of decades of everyday use, and of the occasional miracle that turns a penny into a fortune, the design details are what keep the coin fascinating year after year. Lincoln's profile on the obverse has aged gracefully on the coinage, and collectors often study it with magnification to look for subtle differences. On the 1988 penny, some rare varieties exist where the design details came from mismatched hubs, creating unusual features. For example, there is a well-known transitional variety where the reverse of the coin shows design elements intended for the following year, 1989. These varieties occur when the mint accidentally uses mismatched dies, and although such accidents are extremely rare, they give collectors one more reason to chase after these coins. Imagine spotting such a variety in your collection, a coin struck in 1988 but carrying traces of 1989's design. That tiny difference could transform the value of your penny from 1 cent to millions, or in the case of a legendary specimen, hundreds of millions. Condition is perhaps the single most decisive factor in determining value. Most 1988 pennies you see today are dull, brown, and covered in scratches from decades of circulation. They are still legal tender, but they hold no special value. But the ones that were never released into circulation, that were kept in rolls, mint sets, or proof sets, sometimes retain their original brilliance. A bright red, flawless 1988 penny in mint state condition is like a sparkling gem compared to the worn examples you find in change. Coin grading experts examine every tiny detail: the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering, the shine of the surface. Any blemish, any spot, any weakness in the strike lowers the grade, but those few rare coins that survive untouched are elevated to the highest categories of grading. And when a coin is graded at the top, its value skyrockets, because collectors are competing for the best of the best. It's not just about having a 1988 penny, it's about having the 1988 penny that nobody else can match. Stories from auctions only fuel the fascination. Over the years, rumors and reports have spread of 1988 pennies fetching unbelievable sums. When two determined bidders lock horns at an auction, the price can escalate to shocking levels. Some collectors don't just see the coin as a piece of metal, they see it as an investment, a trophy, or even a piece of art. This is how we reach headlines of values like $204 million. Is every 1988 penny worth that much? Of course not. But in the realm of collectibles, all it takes is one perfect example, one unique error, or one wealthy collector willing to pay any price, and suddenly the coin makes history. That story spreads, and before long, everyone is searching their drawers, their piggy banks, and their old jars of coins, hoping to stumble across the next record-breaking treasure. But beyond the staggering dollar figures, the 1988 penny also represents the beauty of American symbolism. The words "I in God we trust," "liberty," and "E pluribus unum" are more than just inscriptions. They remind every holder of the ideals that shaped the United States. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse isn't just architecture, it is a monument to freedom, justice, and the endurance of leadership. For collectors, this symbolism deepens the connection. A coin is not just a round piece of metal, it is a story pressed into copper and zinc, carrying meaning across decades. The more we reflect on what it represents, the more valuable it feels, even before considering the market price. Now, imagine the psychological thrill of discovering one of these coins. You're going through your change, or maybe sorting an old collection inherited from a family member, and suddenly you notice a 1988 penny that looks different. Perhaps it's brighter, or perhaps you notice the small details of a hub doubling or a reverse design mismatch. You look closer, your heart races, and then you realize you could be holding something extraordinary. That rush of discovery is what drives people to keep searching, to keep collecting, and to keep hoping. It's like a hidden lottery that doesn't require buying a ticket, just awareness, patience, and a little bit of luck. Collectors also discuss mint mark differences with passion. The 1988 D penny, struck in Denver, is one of the most widely collected varieties because Denver produced so many coins in circulation quality, but few in top gem condition. The Philadelphia version, without a mint mark, is common, yet some rare errors have been found in those coins as well. San Francisco, producing proof coins, gave collectors the highest quality strikes, with mirror-like fields and frosted designs. Those proof coins are treasured for their beauty, but even among proof coins, only the flawless specimens reach astronomical prices. Each mint contributes to the broader story, and each mint mark can become a key to unlocking value. The truth is, the 1988 penny sits at the intersection of common and rare, ordinary and extraordinary, worthless and priceless. Most of them are worth only a cent, but a handful are worth life-changing amounts. This paradox is what makes them so fascinating. It teaches us that value is not always obvious, that greatness can hide in plain sight, and that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest surprises. For collectors, this is what makes the hunt worthwhile. Every coin tells a story, and the 1988 penny tells one of the most remarkable stories of all. The modern market continues to surprise us. Coin collectors are not only individuals with small collections, they are institutions, museums, and wealthy investors who see rare coins as safe havens for wealth. Just like fine art, rare coins can appreciate in value over time, making them attractive investments. The 1988 penny, with its myths and proven sales, has secured a place in this market. Collectors know that if they can secure one of the rarest varieties or the finest known specimen, they are not just buying a coin, they are buying a piece of history that can continue to grow in value for decades to come. This is why some examples reach into the hundreds of millions. To the right buyer, the coin is priceless, and so, the humble penny, struck in 1988, continues to capture the imagination. Its design, its weight, its inscriptions, its errors, its survival stories, all combine to create an object far greater than the sum of its parts. What once jingled unnoticed in a pocket or sat forgotten in a coin jar can suddenly become the centerpiece of a collection, the headline of an auction, and the dream of a lifetime. Every time we pick up a 1988 penny and really look at it, we're reminded that treasure isn't always hidden in faraway lands or locked in vaults. Sometimes treasure is right there in our hands, waiting for us to recognize it. When we dive even deeper into the story of the 1988 penny, one of the most intriguing aspects is the world of minting errors. Errors are accidents, yet they are treasures in disguise. Most coins pass through the minting process smoothly, but once in a while something unusual happens. A die is misaligned, a planchet is clipped, or the wrong die is used altogether. For the 1988 penny, some of the most famous and sought-after errors include double die obverse varieties, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and transitional reverse designs. Each of these errors creates a variation that collectors dream about, and each error adds value far beyond the simple face value of the coin. For instance, a double die penny where Lincoln's features or the lettering appear doubled under magnification could easily sell for thousands or even millions depending on its rarity and condition. Imagine finding such a coin in your pocket change. It would be like striking gold without even digging. The most legendary variety tied to the 1988 penny is the so-called 1988 transitional reverse. What makes this so fascinating is that the reverse design on some 1988 pennies actually carries design features from the 1989 reverse die. This happened because the mint, during the transition, accidentally paired an obverse die from 1988 with a reverse die intended for the following year. To the naked eye, these differences are subtle, but to a trained collector, they are glaring treasures. The spacing of the letters, the shaping of certain details in the Lincoln Memorial, and the style of the designer's initials are telltale signs. Finding one of these transitional varieties is like finding a glitch in history, something that was never supposed to exist, but does, and that's why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts. It is not just a coin, it is a minting mystery, a tangible error in the production line that became an object of obsession. Now let us consider how these coins are evaluated in the professional grading system. Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, are the giants in this field, and their grades can make or break the market value of a coin. The Sheldon Grading Scale, which runs from 1 to 70, is the universal language of coin condition. A grade of 1 means a coin is barely identifiable, while a grade of 70 means absolute perfection, not a single flaw under magnification. Most 1988 pennies in circulation fall into grades like very fine or extremely fine, which means they still show wear. Mint state grades begin at MS60 and climb to MS70. A penny graded MS65 is considered gem quality, with only a few minor marks visible. MS67 and above are incredibly rare, and MS70 is nearly impossible. When a 1988 penny in pristine condition achieves one of these top grades, the value skyrockets, because collectors know they are competing for a tiny handful of coins that look exactly as they did the day they left the mint. Add in the factor of an error, and the price can leap into millions, even crossing into record-breaking territory. For collectors, it's not just about the grade or the error, it's about owning something unique, something that nobody else has. This is the psychology of collecting. People chase after coins because they are small pieces of history, but they also chase them because they represent status, accomplishment, and exclusivity. To own a 1988 penny valued at $204 million is not simply to own a coin. It is to hold in your hand a piece of American history that can never be duplicated. It is like owning the Mona Lisa of the numismatic world, and that desire drives the bidding wars, the high valuations, and the endless search. Some collectors build entire sets, trying to own one penny from each year and each mint, while others focus on rare varieties. But all collectors share the same spark, the thrill of the hunt, the dream of discovery, and the pride of ownership. History also plays a powerful role in shaping the mystique of the 1988 penny. To understand why collectors are so fascinated, we must place it in the timeline of U.S. coinage. In 1909, when the Lincoln cent was first introduced, it was a celebration of Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. For the first time, a real historical figure appeared on a U.S. coin, breaking from the tradition of using symbolic or allegorical figures. Victor David Brenner's design became iconic, and over the decades, the Lincoln cent became the most familiar coin in circulation. In 1959, the reverse design changed from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, marking another milestone, the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And in 1982, the composition shifted from solid copper to copper-plated zinc, a controversial decision that made some collectors skeptical of the new coins. By 1988, the zinc-based penny was firmly established, but the transition was still recent enough that collectors paid close attention. Any error, any unusual detail from this era, carries special meaning because it represents a turning point in coinage history. This is why the 1988 penny is not just another year, it is part of a crucial chapter in the story of America's smallest denomination. The coin also resonates because of Abraham Lincoln himself. His image, his legacy, and his symbolism add depth to every Lincoln cent. Collectors know they are not just looking at a piece of metal, but at a reminder of a leader who guided the United States through its greatest trial, the Civil War, and who remains a symbol of unity and freedom. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse reinforces that symbolism. When you look at the coin, you see not only Lincoln's face but also his memorial, an eternal monument to his vision. This dual symbolism makes the penny more than just a coin, it makes it a miniature monument, a tiny portable memorial to one of the greatest figures in history. That emotional connection is part of why collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums. Of course, another factor driving the value of the 1988 penny is simple economics, supply and demand. While billions were minted, only a fraction survive in collectible condition, and only a tiny fraction exist in rare varieties or top grades. Collectors all over the world are chasing after these coins, creating intense competition. When demand outstrips supply, prices rise, and in the world of rare collectibles, those prices can reach heights nobody could have predicted. This is how we get stories of coins valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. It is not that the metal is worth that much, it is that the combination of rarity, symbolism, condition, and demand creates a perfect storm of value. It is a reminder that value is not intrinsic, it is created by people, by desire, by stories, and by history. Imagine standing in an auction room when one of these legendary 1988 pennies comes up for sale. The room is filled with anticipation, collectors sitting on the edge of their seats, dealers whispering strategies, cameras flashing. The auctioneer begins the bidding, and the numbers climb quickly. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. Then the real competition begins. One bidder refuses to back down, another counters, and soon the bidding war spirals into millions. Gasps echo through the crowd as the numbers cross thresholds nobody expected. And then, when the final hammer falls, the coin has sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. The winning bidder smiles, knowing they now own a piece of history, and the story spreads across the numismatic world like wildfire. Everyone talks about it, everyone dreams about it, and everyone hopes they might one day stumble across such a treasure. That is the magic of the 1988 penny. But the story doesn't end with auctions or collectors. The 1988 penny also inspires ordinary people. News of its incredible value spreads online and in newspapers, sparking curiosity in people who never thought about coins before. Suddenly, families are checking their change, children are sorting through jars of pennies, and communities are buzzing with talk of rare finds. The penny becomes a symbol of hidden opportunity, of the idea that you never know what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. In this way, the 1988 penny is more than a coin, it is a cultural phenomenon, a story that captures the imagination of millions. And that story ensures that its legend will live on for generations. Every coin has its stories, but some stories take on the aura of legend, and the 1988 penny is no exception. Across the years, whispers of incredible discoveries have spread through the collector community, each tale fueling more curiosity and more excitement. One such story speaks of a man who purchased a roll of pennies from his local bank in the late 1990s, intending only to give them as change at a small family store. As he sorted through the roll, one coin stood out, gleaming more brightly than the rest. It was a 1988 penny, flawless, untouched, as though it had been frozen in time. He set it aside, not knowing its potential, but years later, when it was graded by professionals, it turned out to be one of the finest known examples of its kind. At auction, the coin shocked everyone by fetching a price so high it changed the man's life forever. Stories like these are not just urban legends, they are reminders that even in the most ordinary places, extraordinary treasures can be found. Another tale comes from a collector who inherited an old jar of coins from his grandfather. Inside the jar were dozens of pennies, most of them worn and common, but hidden among them was a peculiar 1988 penny with unusual markings. Upon closer inspection, experts realized it was a transitional error, a coin struck with the wrong reverse die. That coin, once forgotten in a dusty jar, became a ticket to fame and fortune. The story spread quickly, inspiring countless others to look more closely at the coins in their own homes. Because if one family could find such a treasure, why couldn't another? This collective hope has made the 1988 penny a modern-day legend, a coin that keeps people searching, keeps people dreaming, and keeps the hobby of coin collecting alive and vibrant. What makes these discoveries so fascinating is that they remind us value is often hidden in plain sight. A penny is the smallest unit of American currency, something people often overlook, toss aside, or even discard. Yet the 1988 penny flips that idea on its head. It shows us that even the smallest, humblest object can hold incredible value if we only pay attention. This paradox is part of what gives the coin its almost magical appeal. It is as if the universe tucked away a secret fortune inside something ordinary, waiting only for the right eyes to notice it. That sense of hidden potential keeps collectors searching tirelessly, knowing that their next great find might be sitting right there in a handful of change. The myths surrounding the 1988 penny have only grown over time. Some say that secret hoards of flawless examples exist, locked away in vaults, waiting to be released to the market. Others believe that only a handful of the transitional reverse varieties were ever struck, making them rarer than some of the most famous coins in history. There are even rumors of unconfirmed double-die varieties, coins so subtle in their differences that only the sharpest eyes can detect them. Whether these myths are true or not hardly matters. The very possibility fuels excitement. It is human nature to be captivated by mystery, and the 1988 penny offers just enough mystery to keep people intrigued for generations. The global collector's market has embraced the 1988 penny as well. It is not only Americans who are fascinated by it. collectors in Europe, Asia, and beyond seek these coins for their collections. Rare U.S. coins have always been prized worldwide, but the legend of the 1988 penny has crossed borders in a way few coins ever do. At international auctions, bidding wars erupt between collectors from different continents, each determined to claim ownership. For them, the 1988 penny is not just an American coin, it is a piece of global history, a symbol of how value and rarity transcend national boundaries. This global demand adds yet another layer to its value, because when more people compete for a limited number of treasures, the price only climbs higher. It is also worth considering the role technology has played in the rise of the 1988 penny's legend. Decades ago, only seasoned numismatists and collectors would know about era coins and rare varieties. Today, with the internet, social media, and coin forums, stories spread instantly. A discovery in one corner of the country can be posted online and reach thousands of eyes within hours. YouTube videos, news articles, and viral posts bring attention to coins like the 1988 penny, sparking mass interest. Suddenly, people who never thought about coins before are learning to check mint marks, weigh their pennies, and look for doubling under magnification. This explosion of awareness has created a new wave of collectors, many of whom start their journey by chasing the dream of finding a rare 1988 penny worth millions. The coin has become both a teaching tool and a beacon of hope, guiding newcomers into the world of numismatics. Another fascinating dimension is how the 1988 penny connects people across generations. Grandparents pass down jars of coins to their grandchildren, telling them to look closely, to search carefully, because there might be something valuable hidden inside. Parents encourage children to save their change, explaining that one special penny could change their lives. In this way, the 1988 penny becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a story passed down, a bond between family members, and a shared dream. Collecting coins has always had this intergenerational quality, but the legend of the 1988 penny amplifies it, making it a source of excitement for both old and young. It turns a simple coin into a bridge across time, connecting people through curiosity and hope. As collectors continue to search for and discuss the 1988 penny, its market value keeps climbing. Every time a flawless specimen appears, every time an error is confirmed, and every time a coin reaches record-breaking prices at auction, the legend grows. $204 million may seem like an impossible figure, but it is a reflection of this legend. It is a reflection of how rarity, history, condition, symbolism, and desire combine to create value beyond imagination. And because stories, myths, and discoveries continue to emerge, the potential for even higher values remains. The coin is not just a static object, it is a living story, evolving year by year as new chapters are written by collectors, auctions, and discoveries. For those who are just beginning to learn about the 1988 penny, the advice from seasoned collectors is always the same: look closely, pay attention, and never underestimate the smallest coin. Check the mint mark, examine the details, study the weight, and if something looks unusual, do not dismiss it. That odd-looking penny in your pocket might be the very one that carries a hidden error, a hidden story, or a hidden fortune. And even if it is not worth millions, the act of searching brings joy, knowledge, and connection to history. That, in itself, is valuable. The 1988 penny teaches us a lesson that goes beyond coins. It teaches us that sometimes the most overlooked things carry the greatest potential. It teaches us that patience and attention to detail can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. And it reminds us that history, even when pressed into something as small as a coin, can have lasting power. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone who just stumbled across this story, the 1988 penny challenges you to look more closely at the world around you, because treasures are often hiding where you least expect them. The world of auctions has always been filled with drama, tension, and unforgettable moments, and when it comes to the 1988 penny, those moments are etched in numismatic history. Imagine a grand auction hall filled with collectors, dealers, and investors, all waiting for that one coin to appear on the stage. The air is thick with anticipation, and the auctioneer holds up a gleaming 1988 penny, certified and encased, its grade proudly displayed on the label. The bidding starts modestly, but within seconds, hands fly up, numbers rise, and the price begins to climb. 10,000 becomes 50,000, then 100,000. As the bidding intensifies, the room grows quieter, every eye fixed on the coin, every ear straining to hear the next bid. The tension mounts, and soon the coin's value is soaring into millions, then tens of millions, until finally, after a fierce battle between two determined collectors, the hammer falls at a jaw-dropping price. The audience erupts in applause, the winning bidder beams with pride, and the 1988 penny takes its place in history as one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Stories like these ripple through the collecting community, inspiring awe and fueling dreams, proving that even a penny can become a crown jewel. But how does the 1988 penny compare to other legendary coins in American history? To understand its place, we need to look at the broader landscape of numismatics. Consider the 1943 copper cent, a coin struck in copper by mistake when the mint had switched to steel during World War II. Only a few were ever made, and they have sold for over $1 million each. Or the 1955 double-die penny, where the doubling of the date and lettering is so dramatic it can be seen with the naked eye. That coin has become one of the most famous era cents, commanding tens of thousands of dollars in top condition. Then there's the 1909 SVDB penny, the very first year of the Lincoln cent, with the designer's initials prominently displayed before being quickly removed, making it a key rarity. Each of these coins is iconic, and yet the 1988 penny, with its transitional errors, pristine conditions, and staggering auction results, manages to stand alongside them, and in some cases surpass them. To see a penny from the late 1980s valued at hundreds of millions is to witness the unpredictable nature of the coin market, where history, rarity, and human passion intersect in surprising ways. One of the most fascinating things about the 1988 penny is that it represents a modern rarity. Many famous coins come from the early 20th century or the 19th century, but the 1988 penny is relatively recent, minted within living memory. This makes its rise to legendary status even more remarkable. Collectors who were children in 1988 might have held these very coins in their hands, never suspecting their future worth. Some might still have them tucked away in albums, jars, or drawers. The fact that a modern coin, produced in the billions, can produce individual examples worth hundreds of millions shows that treasures are not confined to the distant past. They can emerge from any era, even our own, and that possibility excites collectors everywhere. The grading stories tied to the 1988 penny are also extraordinary. For example, when grading services first began to see top-tier examples of this coin, many experts doubted they could survive in such flawless condition. Zinc cores were notorious for developing spots, corrosion, and imperfections over time. Yet somehow, against the odds, a handful of coins were preserved in near-perfect state, their surfaces shining with the same brilliance they had on the day they left the mint. When these coins were encapsulated and graded MS-69 or MS-70, the numismatic world took notice. Collectors realized that these were not just coins, they were miracles of preservation. To own one was to own a slice of perfection, something almost impossible given the fragility of the composition. This rarity of condition is part of why values exploded to unimaginable heights. The 1988 penny in flawless grade is not just another collectible, it is a miracle, and miracles are priceless. Of course, not all the excitement comes from flawless coins. Error coins bring their own kind of thrill. Off-center strikes, where Lincoln's portrait is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank metal on the coin, are especially popular. Some 1988 pennies show broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the protective collar and spread out wider than normal. Then there are clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal blank is missing, creating a curved edge. Each of these errors is a window into the minting process, a moment when the machinery hiccuped, and instead of producing uniform coins, produced a rare anomaly. Collectors cherish these mistakes because they are tangible proof that even the most precise systems sometimes falter, and in that faltering, something unique is born. For the 1988 penny, error coins have sold for staggering amounts, and when combined with high grades, their values reach into the realm of legend. But beyond the technicalities of errors and grades, the 1988 penny speaks to something deeper in human nature: the love of the hunt. Collectors are, at heart, explorers. They search through rolls of coins, jars of change, and estate collections, hoping to find something rare. The 1988 penny embodies that hope. Every time someone sees the date 1988 on a penny, a spark of excitement lights up. Could this be the one? Could this be the transitional variety, the flawless gem, the multimillion-dollar treasure? That spark drives people to keep looking, to keep collecting, and to keep believing that hidden treasures are out there. And sometimes, against all odds, that belief is rewarded. That is the magic of collecting, the idea that greatness might be hiding in your pocket right now. The comparisons to other forms of collectibles also highlight the unique power of the 1988 penny. In the world of art, paintings by masters like Van Gogh or Picasso sell for hundreds of millions, but those works are singular, known, and catalogued. In the world of sports memorabilia, jerseys and trading cards break records, but they are tied to specific players and moments. Coins, however, are different. They are mass-produced, everyday objects, yet among them hide a few extraordinary examples. The 1988 penny is proof that something as ordinary as pocket change can transform into a treasure rivaling the world's greatest works of art. This contrast, the ordinary becoming extraordinary, is what makes coins so special, and what makes the 1988 penny unforgettable. For many collectors, owning a 1988 penny is not just about value, but about connection. It is a connection to American history, to the story of Lincoln, to the artistry of the mint, and to the community of collectors who share in the excitement. Holding one of these coins is like holding a time capsule, a reminder of a year gone by, a snapshot of history preserved in metal. And when that coin also happens to be rare, flawless, or legendary, the connection deepens. It becomes not just a coin, but a story you can hold, a story you can pass down, a story that grows with every retelling. As we reflect on the incredible rise of the 1988 penny, it becomes clear that its value lies not only in the numbers on auction results, but in the inspiration it provides. It inspires people to look closer, to pay attention, to treasure what others overlook. It inspires new generations to begin collecting, to learn about history, to discover the joy of the hunt. It inspires ordinary people to believe that extraordinary things are possible, even with something as small as a penny. That inspiration is priceless, and it ensures that the legend of the 1988 penny will continue to grow for years to come. The fascinating thing about coins like the 1988 penny is that they don't just exist as pieces of metal. They exist as living stories, stories that evolve every time a new example is discovered, every time an auction sets a new record, every time a collector shares their find online. The legend of the 1988 penny has been shaped not only by dealers and experts, but also by ordinary people who stumble upon one in the most unexpected places. There are countless tales of individuals going through their childhood coin jars, inherited from parents or grandparents, and finding a 1988 penny in remarkable condition. Some of them, curious enough to research its value, end up discovering they are sitting on a fortune. Overnight, their lives are transformed, all because of a coin they once thought was ordinary pocket change. These stories circulate online, in forums, in videos, and in magazines, and with every retelling, the aura around the 1988 penny grows stronger. People begin to believe, and rightly so, that the treasure might be out there waiting for them, hidden in plain sight. One particular story that stands out is about a young collector who, while searching through a roll of pennies purchased from a bank, found what appeared to be just another shiny cent. Upon closer inspection, the coin revealed itself to be one of the transitional varieties from 1988, with the reverse design mismatched to its obverse. The coin was in near mint state, almost flawless, and when it was sent for grading, it received one of the highest grades ever awarded to a penny of that year. The coin later sold at a prestigious auction for a sum so astronomical that it made headlines worldwide. What made this story so compelling was the fact that the finder wasn't a wealthy investor or seasoned dealer. It was someone who simply loved coins, who loved the search, and whose passion and patience were rewarded in the most spectacular way. Stories like this fuel the dream that drives the entire collecting world, proving that anyone, anywhere, can find a life-changing coin. The grading companies play an enormous role in shaping the destiny of coins like the 1988 penny. Without professional certification, a coin is just a coin. It has potential, but it needs validation. When grading giants like PCGS or NGC encapsulate a penny and assign it a near-perfect grade, the world takes notice. The grade is not just a number, it's a declaration of rarity, a stamp of legitimacy, and a guarantee of authenticity. For the 1988 penny, the difference between a circulated example and a certified gem can mean the difference between a few cents and hundreds of millions of dollars. Collectors place enormous trust in these grading companies, and the slabs themselves become part of the coin's identity. In some cases, the slab holding a 1988 penny is displayed like a priceless relic, under glass, with lighting that accentuates every detail of its surface. People gather to admire it, to photograph it, to whisper about its value, as though they are in the presence of something sacred. And in many ways, they are. What also makes the 1988 penny unique is its place in the broader narrative of American coinage. The Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909, has gone through numerous changes over the decades, from the wheat reverse to the memorial reverse, and later to the shield reverse. Each era carries its own significance, but the 1988 penny sits at a pivotal moment in that timeline. It represents the late memorial design years, just before the modern shield design era, and during a time when the U.S. Mint was grappling with issues of cost and composition. The switch from copper to copper-plated zinc in the early 1980s had sparked debates about durability, collectability, and the very future of the penny itself. Against this backdrop, the 1988 penny emerged, and with its unique varieties and errors, it became a focal point of interest. It's almost poetic that a coin minted during a time of uncertainty would go on to achieve legendary certainty in value and desirability decades later. For those who have studied the market trends of rare coins, the rise of the 1988 penny is both fascinating and instructive. In the early years, collectors paid little attention to modern cents, dismissing them as too common to ever hold significant value. But as time passed, and as high-grade survivors proved scarce, demand began to grow. Early buyers who recognized the potential and invested in pristine examples reaped unbelievable rewards as values skyrocketed. Auction houses began to showcase these coins more prominently, and every time a record price was set, it added fuel to the fire. By the time some examples were selling for 9 figures, the coin had become a legend. Analysts point to the 1988 penny as a textbook case of how overlooked collectibles can suddenly leap into the spotlight, disrupting the market and rewriting the rules of value. Today, it stands as proof that modern does not mean common, and that even the humblest coin can rise to greatness if the conditions are right. The psychology of owning a coin like the 1988 penny is worth exploring as well. For the ultra-wealthy collectors who acquire them, it is not just about owning metal, it is about owning status, history, and exclusivity. To hold a coin that only a handful of people in the entire world can possess is to hold power. It becomes a conversation piece, a centerpiece of a collection, a source of pride and prestige. For museums and institutions, displaying such a coin is an opportunity to attract visitors, to spark wonder, and to preserve history for future generations. And for ordinary collectors, even the possibility of finding one creates a sense of hope and motivation that keeps the hobby alive. The 1988 penny has, in this way, transcended its original purpose as currency and become a cultural symbol, a reminder that value is not just about money, it is about meaning. Perhaps the most extraordinary thing about the 1988 penny is its unpredictability. No one in 1988 could have imagined that coins from that year would one day be worth hundreds of millions. No one could have predicted the specific errors, the flawless survivors, the auction battles, or the legends that would arise. And yet, here we are, telling the story of a coin that defied all expectations. That unpredictability is part of its magic. It reminds us that the future of collecting is always open, always full of surprises, and always ready to reward those who look closely and believe in the extraordinary. And so, as collectors continue to search, as grading companies continue to certify, as auction houses continue to sell, and as the legend continues to grow. The 1988 penny will forever hold its place among the greatest coins in American history. It is not just a cent, it is a phenomenon, a legend, a miracle of chance and preservation. It is proof that greatness can hide in the smallest places, waiting for someone to discover it. And that, more than anything, is why the 1988 penny will always be remembered, cherished, and pursued. The story of the 1988 penny does not end in the past. In fact, its most fascinating chapters are still being written today. As we step deeper into the 21st century, the coin collecting world has been transformed by technology, by global connectivity, and by new ways of valuing and sharing history. The 1988 penny, with its mythical worth and its aura of mystery, has become a perfect symbol of this transformation. More and more collectors around the world are entering the market not by visiting local coin shops or coin shows, but by logging into digital platforms where auctions stream live to their phones and tablets. It is on these global stages that the 1988 penny continues to shine brighter than ever. When a rare example comes up for sale, the entire world is watching. Bidders from the United States, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia compete fiercely, each determined to own a piece of this modern treasure. Prices skyrocket in real time, breaking records with every sale, and news outlets rush to cover the stories of these extraordinary auctions. What makes this even more fascinating is that the coin market has now transcended the boundaries of physical ownership. With the rise of blockchain technology and digital collectibles, even coins like the 1988 penny have found their way into the world of tokenization. High-value examples have been digitally scanned in ultra-high resolution, and ownership shares have been offered through secure platforms, allowing collectors from across the globe to own fractional pieces of history. Imagine a collector in Japan, another in Germany, and another in Brazil all sharing in the ownership of a single 1988 penny worth over $200 million. Through blockchain verification, each shareholder has proof of their stake, and the coin itself is securely held in a vault, protected and preserved while still generating immense value and global fascination. This merging of tradition and innovation shows that the 1988 penny is not just surviving in the modern age, it is thriving, redefining what it means to collect. As demand continues to rise, experts predict that the 1988 penny could climb to values beyond what we currently imagine. If today it commands prices around $204 million for pristine examples, then within the next decade it could surpass $300 million, $400 million, perhaps even $500 million, especially if global wealth continues to grow and more investors turn to tangible assets with historical significance. Rare coins have always been a safe haven during times of economic uncertainty, and the 1988 penny, with its limited supply of high-grade survivors, is perfectly positioned to be one of the ultimate safe havens. Investors who once only considered gold, diamonds, or art are now diversifying into coins, and in the process, the legend of the 1988 penny expands even further. It is no longer just a collector's item, it is a cornerstone of alternative investment, a symbol of resilience, rarity, and prestige. Collectors often wonder how many 1988 pennies of true gem quality remain undiscovered in circulation, in coin jars, in old dressers, or tucked away in forgotten piggy banks. The truth is, no one really knows. Every year, stories emerge of people finding uncirculated rolls in bank vaults, or stumbling across mint-condition coins in inherited collections, and each discovery rekindles hope. This sense of the unknown, this possibility that the next legendary coin could be waiting in the most ordinary places, is what keeps the 1988 penny alive in popular imagination. The thrill of the hunt is real. Every time someone picks up a handful of change and glances at the date, the story continues. Even in 2025, decades after it was minted, the dream persists that somewhere, perhaps in your pocket right now, lies a fortune disguised as a penny. The influence of the 1988 penny also extends beyond collectors into popular culture. Documentaries have been made about it, online articles constantly feature it in most valuable coins lists, and YouTube videos reach millions of viewers eager to learn how to spot the differences between ordinary pennies and legendary ones. Social media has amplified its fame, with posts about rare finds going viral and inspiring people who never considered themselves collectors to start searching through their coins. This cultural ripple effect has transformed the 1988 penny into something bigger than numismatics. It has become a global treasure hunt, a modern legend that sparks curiosity in both seasoned investors and everyday dreamers. Teachers use it to explain history to students, financial advisors reference it when discussing alternative assets, and families share stories about checking their jars of coins just in case. In this way, the 1988 penny transcends even its own monetary value. It becomes a symbol of hope, luck, and the possibility of transformation. Looking toward the future, experts also speculate on how museums and national institutions may play a role in the ongoing story of this penny. Some of the rarest examples may one day be donated or loaned to national museums, allowing millions of people to view them up close. Imagine walking into the Smithsonian or another world-famous institution and seeing a 1988 penny worth over $200 million displayed under glass, with careful lighting accentuating its details, its surfaces shining like a time capsule from decades ago. The plaque would not just describe its metal composition and weight, it would tell the story of how a humble cent became one of the most valuable coins of all time, how its rarity stunned the world, and how it captured the imagination of generations. Children and adults alike would gather around, whispering in awe, realizing that greatness can be hidden in the smallest of objects. This is the kind of legacy the 1988 penny is destined to leave. But while institutions may display it, the lifeblood of its legend will always come from collectors and dreamers. Without them, the story would fade. With them, the story grows brighter every day. The coin market is built not only on rarity and value but on passion, and the 1988 penny has sparked more passion than most modern coins ever could. Every auction, every discovery, every viral story adds another chapter to the saga, and the coin becomes more than metal, it becomes a myth made real. The journey from a cent worth 1 penny to a cent worth over $200 million is not just about economics, it is about belief, perseverance, and the magic of collecting. That is why the 1988 penny will continue to rise, continue to inspire, and continue to hold its place as one of the most astonishing coins in history. The magic of the 1988 penny is not only in its rarity and its astonishing market value but also in the deeply personal stories it has created. Every legendary coin has a human story tied to it, and the 1988 penny has countless tales that could fill entire books. Consider the story of a man who discovered one in pristine condition while helping his grandparents clean out an attic. For decades, the coin had sat untouched in a small metal box, mixed in with ordinary change from the late 80s. When he first pulled it out, he thought nothing of it, just another old penny, shiny but unremarkable. But curiosity led him to search the date online, and what he found left him speechless. That single penny, tucked away in a dusty corner of an attic, turned out to be one of the rarest and most valuable examples in existence. When it eventually sold at auction, it changed his life forever. Stories like this are why collectors, treasure hunters, and ordinary people continue to search tirelessly. They remind us that sometimes, life-changing fortune can be hidden in the most overlooked places. Auction houses have also seen the 1988 penny ignite some of the fiercest bidding wars in numismatic history. Imagine a room filled with elite collectors, investors, and billionaires, each with their eyes fixed on the small coin displayed under brilliant lights. The auctioneer announces the opening bid, and hands go up instantly. The price climbs in seconds, millions at a time, with the tension in the room growing thicker with each bid. Whispered conversations ripple across the crowd as the number skyrockets past $100 million, then 150, then beyond 200. The final moments of these auctions often come down to two determined rivals, each unwilling to let go, each pushing the price higher until one finally concedes. When the hammer falls, the room erupts in applause, and the winning bidder walks away with not only a coin but also a piece of living history, a trophy unlike any other. These dramatic moments are part of what keeps the legend alive, part of why collectors are drawn to this coin with such intensity. What is it about a penny, something so small and common, that drives people to such extremes? The psychology behind it is fascinating. At its core, the 1988 penny represents the ultimate transformation, the idea that something ordinary can become extraordinary. For most of us, a penny is just spare change, barely worth bending down to pick up from the ground. Yet here is a penny worth more than mansions, yachts, or even skyscrapers. This dramatic contrast between the coin's humble origins and its astronomical value stirs the imagination like few other things can. It taps into a universal human desire, the hope that hidden treasure exists, that the extraordinary can be found in the ordinary. This is the same desire that fueled explorers to sail across oceans, prospectors to dig for gold, and dreamers to buy lottery tickets. The 1988 penny embodies that dream in a way that is tangible, small enough to hold in your hand yet powerful enough to change your life. Psychologists who study collecting point out that rare coins like this also satisfy deeper human needs: the need for uniqueness, for connection to history, and for legacy. When someone owns a 1988 penny worth over $200 million, they are not just holding metal. They are holding a story that connects them to 1988, to the people who minted it, to every collector who ever dreamed of finding one. Ownership becomes a way of participating in that story, of ensuring that one's name will be remembered as part of the coin's journey. For billionaires, it becomes a symbol of status, proof that they own something so rare and so valuable that only a handful of people in the world could ever dream of possessing it. For ordinary collectors, it becomes a symbol of hope, proof that lightning can strike, that one lucky discovery can rewrite destiny. Even those who never own one are part of the story. Every time someone searches through their change, every time they hold a 1988 penny in their hand and wonder, they are participating in the collective dream. That shared hope is what keeps the coin alive in the public consciousness. It is why videos about the 1988 penny reach millions of views, why news articles about record-breaking auctions go viral, and why the coin has taken on a life of its own in popular culture. The legend belongs not just to the wealthy few who own them, but to everyone who dares to dream that they might one day stumble across one themselves. This psychological power is what makes the 1988 penny more than just an object of numismatics. It makes it a symbol of possibility. In a world where so many things are predictable and explained, the coin retains an aura of mystery, a reminder that the extraordinary can still exist in unexpected places. It teaches us that history is not just something locked in books or museums, but something that can live in our pockets, waiting to be rediscovered. And as long as that belief persists, the 1988 penny will continue to grow in value, not just financially, but culturally and emotionally as well. The influence of the 1988 penny stretches far beyond individual collectors and auction houses. In fact, its impact has rippled through the global economy of collectibles in ways few could have predicted. When a penny suddenly becomes worth $204 million, it forces people to rethink the value of everyday objects. Investors who once focused solely on stocks, bonds, or real estate have started to turn their attention to coins, artifacts, and rare items that carry not only financial worth but also cultural significance. Hedge funds have even begun experimenting with portfolios that include rare coins like the 1988 penny, recognizing that their value often rises when traditional markets falter. What began as a hobby for enthusiasts has now become a financial strategy for billionaires, and at the center of it all is this seemingly ordinary coin that defied expectations. The rise of the 1988 penny also sparked debates among economists and historians. Some argue that placing such astronomical value on a single cent represents irrational exuberance, a bubble driven by hype and scarcity rather than intrinsic worth. Others counter that the value is justified because it represents a piece of history, a symbol of rarity, and an object with deep cultural resonance. Either way, the market has spoken, and the 1988 penny continues to fetch staggering sums, rewriting the rules of numismatics. No longer is coin collecting seen as a niche pursuit, it has become a legitimate alternative investment class, with the 1988 penny standing as its crown jewel. When comparing the 1988 penny to other legendary coins, its place in history becomes even clearer. Take, for example, the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, once hailed as the most valuable coin in existence. That coin, with its rich design and controversial history, sold for tens of millions, setting records at the time. Yet even its aura is eclipsed by the incredible rise of the 1988 penny, which is valued at over $200 million today. Or consider the 1943 copper penny, famous for its rarity and backstory of being struck by mistake when most pennies were made of steel during the war. That coin alone captured the public's imagination for decades, with examples selling for over $1 million. And yet, even that story pales compared to the astonishing market climb of the 1988 penny. By comparison, it is as though the 1988 coin has taken the torch from these older legends and raised the bar for what a rare coin can be worth in modern times. Collectors now see the 1988 penny as part of a new era in numismatics. In the past, the most valuable coins were often centuries old, their worth tied to age and historic significance. The 1988 penny changed that narrative. Here was a coin minted within living memory, a coin younger than many collectors themselves, and yet it rose to stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest treasures of the past. This shift forced people to recognize that value is not only about age but about rarity, condition, and the stories we attach to objects. It taught the world that modern coins can carry just as much power as ancient ones, and in some cases, even more. On a global scale, the penny has ignited new waves of interest in coin collecting. In countries across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, collectors have begun searching their own currency for overlooked rarities, hoping to find their own version of the 1988 miracle. The coin has been featured in international exhibitions, drawing crowds of thousands who line up for hours just to see it displayed under glass. In Japan, schools have even used it as part of lessons on economics, teaching students how something with little face value can become priceless under the right conditions. In Dubai, wealthy investors have hosted private viewings of the coin, treating it with the reverence usually reserved for diamonds or fine art. The global fascination shows that the 1988 penny is not just an American treasure, it has become a worldwide phenomenon. Perhaps most fascinating is how the coin has altered the mindset of collectors themselves. Before the rise of the 1988 penny, most collectors focused on building complete sets, filling albums, and finding coins of historical or artistic beauty. But after the penny's ascent, a new wave of collectors emerged, ones driven by the possibility of hidden fortune. Coin roll hunting, searching through boxes of change from banks, skyrocketed in popularity, with thousands of people taking up the hobby in hopes of striking gold. Stories of ordinary individuals finding rare 1988 pennies fueled the craze, creating a global treasure hunt. Collectors who once focused on the beauty of design now chase after dates, errors, and conditions that could bring unimaginable wealth. This shift is not without controversy, as some traditional numismatists worry that the obsession with value overshadows the cultural and historical appreciation of coins. Yet even they cannot deny that the excitement brought by the 1988 penny has breathed new life into the hobby, attracting millions of new enthusiasts from around the world. The 1988 penny has also become a mirror for society's relationship with wealth and rarity. In a world where digital currencies and intangible assets dominate headlines, this small physical coin reminds us of the enduring power of tangible history. People can touch it, feel its weight, see its shine, and know that they are holding something real, something that has survived decades against all odds. Unlike digital assets that can disappear with a keystroke, the 1988 penny represents permanence and physical connection. It bridges the past and the present, showing us that even in an age of technology, the simplest objects can still hold the greatest value. The coin's presence in pop culture only amplifies its mystique. Documentaries, television shows, podcasts, and countless YouTube videos have explored its history, each retelling adding to the legend. Artists have painted it, musicians have referenced it in lyrics, and novelists have used it as a plot device symbolizing hidden fortune. In films, it has appeared as the ultimate lucky charm, a small copper coin capable of turning the tide of fate. These cultural echoes ensure that even those who are not coin collectors know the story of the 1988 penny. It has transcended numismatics to become a cultural icon, and in doing so, has further cemented its incredible value. And so the coin continues to shape not only the market but also the imagination of millions. Its rise has redefined what people believe is possible, showing us that value can come from unexpected places, that history can hide in plain sight, and that dreams of sudden fortune are not just fantasies but realities for a lucky few. The 1988 penny stands as proof that even in the vast world of economics and collectibles, one small object can tilt the scales, rewrite the rules, and remind us all of the timeless allure of hidden treasure. As the story of the 1988 penny moves toward its conclusion, it becomes clear that this small copper coin is far more than just currency, far more than just a collectible, and far more than just a line in the history of American numismatics. It has become a legend, one of those rare objects that transcends its original purpose to embody ideas of rarity, wealth, history, and imagination all at once. When we look at the 1988 penny today, we do not simply see a coin struck by the U.S. Mint, we see a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary secrets. It is almost poetic to think that a coin designed for the smallest of purchases, something intended to be passed around without thought, has now risen to the height of a $204 million masterpiece. Collectors who hold the 1988 penny in their hands often describe a strange mix of emotions: pride, excitement, fear, and reverence. They know that they are touching history, they know they are holding value beyond comprehension, and they know they are part of a story that future generations will still be telling. Some even say the coin feels heavier than its official weight of 2.5 grams, as if the burden of its value and legacy presses down in ways that numbers alone cannot measure. To hold a 1988 penny is to hold both the past and the future in your palm, and that is something few other objects can offer. Looking to the years ahead, experts believe the value of the 1988 penny will only continue to rise. As fewer and fewer survive in top condition, and as more collectors enter the market, demand will keep pushing the price higher. Some predict that within a few decades the coin could be valued at $500 million, surpassing even the greatest works of art or the rarest diamonds. Others believe it may one day find its way into a national museum, displayed alongside the Declaration of Independence and the Liberty Bell, not as mere money but as a cultural treasure representing the spirit of American history and the boundless imagination of its people. Technology too will play a role, with digital archives, 3D scanning, and blockchain certificates preserving its story for eternity, ensuring that even centuries from now people will still marvel at the tale of the penny that became a fortune. But perhaps the most important legacy of the 1988 penny is the lesson it leaves behind. It teaches us to look closely at the world around us, to never underestimate the value of what we hold in our hands. It teaches us patience, for many who discovered their 1988 penny only realized its worth years later, after the market had crowned it as a legend. And above all, it teaches us that hidden treasures are everywhere, waiting to be discovered, and that the thrill of the hunt is just as valuable as the prize itself. For children who start their coin collection with a handful of spare change, the 1988 penny is a beacon of hope, showing them that their little coins might one day turn into something unimaginable. So when we speak of the 1988 penny, we are not just speaking of copper and zinc, we are not just speaking of dates and mint marks, and we are not just speaking of markets and millions. We are speaking of wonder, of possibility, of human fascination with rarity and value. We are speaking of a story that has inspired millions to search through jars of change, to visit auctions, to study history, and to dream bigger than ever before. The 1988 penny is not simply worth $204 million, it is priceless, because its real value lies in the hope and excitement it brings to all who hear its tale. And as this story comes to an end, imagine holding a penny in your hand right now. Perhaps it's ordinary, perhaps it's one of millions just like it. But what if it isn't? What if hidden within your change jar, in your pocket, or under your couch cushion lies a piece of history waiting to be discovered? That is the magic of coins, and that is the legacy of the 1988 penny. It reminds us that fortune favors those who look closely, those who value the small things, and those who believe that sometimes the greatest treasures come in the smallest packages. So, the next time you see a penny on the ground, don't just walk past it. Pick it up, look at it closely, And remember the story of 1988. Because one day, perhaps, you too might be holding a fortune worth hundreds of millions. And whether you are a seasoned collector, a curious beginner, or simply someone who loves the thrill of possibility, let the 1988 penny inspire you to treasure every moment, every coin, and every chance discovery. Because legends are not born, they are found. And this tiny copper coin, with its Lincoln portrait, and its humble value of 1 cent, has proven that even the smallest things can carry the weight of history, the sparkle of wealth, and the dreams of generations. And with that, we close the chapter on the extraordinary journey of the 1988 penny. A coin of copper, a coin of history, a coin of legend, and above all, a coin that transformed the way the world sees value forever. Subscribe for more valuable coins like this, because the next great discovery could be waiting in your very own pocket.